State lawmakers continue to work on a bill designed to grow jobs and boost Arizona's economy using tax cuts and other economic incentives. We'll debate the merits of the bill in a moment, but first, here's a look at what the legislation does.
House Bill 2250 is intended to create a more competitive business climate in Arizona, one that makes those big base companies want to move here.
The reason we're here is because Boeing is here, Intel is here, because JDA Software is here, because American Express's regional office is here. And if we don't attract those companies that pay above average wages, we're destined to have essentially a third world economy.
The jobs bill is based on a report by economist Elliot Pollack that recommends a strategy to target high-paying jobs.
You want to design it so that as much as possible, it's just hitting those base industries. Manufacturing, I mean, guys who could pick up tomorrow and go somewhere else. If there's a guy here, a manufacturer here who could be in Austin tomorrow, who could be in Tennessee tomorrow, we gotta consider that, because they take not only that one job with them, they take the other 2.2, the ripple effects. A company that's going to be here anyway, we don't have to incent.
The bill contains a variety of income and property tax cuts and incentives, among them a phased-in reduction of the corporate income tax rate from nearly 7% to 5% over 5 years, the gradual elimination of the state equalization property tax rate, and an expansion of the state's enterprise zone program, making more companies eligible for lower property tax rates as long as they meet certain thresholds for employment and capital investment.
Here now to talk about House Bill 2250 is Dana Wolf-Naimark, President and CEO of Children's Action Alliance. She's here representing the Arizona Budget Coalition. And Glenn Hammer, President and CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
Dana, why is this bill, as you describe it, bad public policy?
Oh, it's very bad public policy, mainly because Arizona can't pay our bills right now. As you know, you've had many guests and many shows about our budget crisis. We are struggling just to keep the doors open, and in many cases we're not keeping the doors open. We have rollovers to repay, about $500 million in rollovers, and we have debt payments to make on the borrowing. We've done about $250,000. We have no plan for how we're going to pay our bills going into the future. So we cannot afford a $650 million tax cut.
Glenn, why is this bill necessary?
Ted, what we can't afford is to sit still, given the fact that the state of Arizona has lost over 300,000 jobs since the Great Recession began. We have lost a greater percentage of our workforce than any state in the country, including Michigan. And we will never get our budget back in structural balance unless we're able to get Arizona's job machine restarted.
Yet this bill, $60 million from the general fund next year, $650 some odd million by 2018, according to JLBC here. Is that good for Arizona, taking that much money out of the general fund?
Ted, that is a static analysis. The fact is, over the next several years, this bill has a very, very small impact on the state's general fund. The bill, again, and your introduction referenced this, the bill, many of the elements of the plan were designed by one of the leading economists in the state of Arizona, Elliot Pollack. On the tax side, the bill really goes after two particular areas where the state is not as competitive as we need to be. Business property taxes, where we're among the highest in the country, and corporate income taxes, where we are in our region terribly uncompetitive right now.
Very little impact on the general fund.
Well, I don't consider $650 million little, and in fact the $60 million in the very first year is 3 times the full cost of kids' care with no enrollment freeze. That's a cost that many lawmakers have said we can't afford, so I don't think that we can afford $60 million in tax cuts. You know, Ted, the tax code did not cause the job losses. Under this same tax code, we've had many years where we ranked first, second, third, fourth in job growth in the country. So the tax code did not cause those job losses, and it won't get them back either.
Yet the idea that many things will rebound if jobs recover, that the rising tide lifts all the boats, et cetera, et cetera. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. We share the goal of nurturing and protecting jobs. We think jobs are good for everybody in Arizona. We just don't think this is the way to get there, and this is something we cannot afford. The the budget has two sides of the ledger, and often we get into the trap of only talking about one side at a time, the taxes or the spending. But when you take out on the tax side, you have to take out on the spending side, which will cost us jobs and cost us things that businesses care about, like higher education, math and science education, healthcare, those kinds of things.
Cost us jobs and cost us things we care about.
No, and all those items that were just mentioned, they're important. Absolutely, we want to have a world-class K-12 system. We need to have an elite university system, and we both share the desire to make sure that kids' care is properly funded, so the state doesn't forfeit billions of dollars of federal aid. But right now, Ted, you know, it is accurate that in the past we have had some very good years. But I believe that there is a consensus, at least in the business community, that we need to diversify our economy. And we need a plan to diversify our economy. And we believe that the plan put forward in HB 2250 is a move towards a more diversified Arizona economy.
But some will say that there is no guarantee of job creation in this bill, that the tax cuts are broad-based, no guarantee of job creation, but there is a guarantee, or pretty close to it, that services will be cut. How do you respond?
Well, I disagree with that. A number of the elements, particularly on the economic development side, are triggered to new jobs being created. In terms of the broader-based tax reform, well, it's difficult to say that X number of jobs will be increased. Common sense would say if we reduce our corporate income tax rate to a level where we're at least competitive or in the ballpark with competitors such as Colorado and Utah, we'll be more attractive. Right now, our corporate income tax rate is substantially higher than Colorado, substantially higher than Utah. We're competing against Nevada that doesn't even have a corporate income tax rate. We want to create a dynamic when the companies in California are looking to move out of California into a better environment. We don't just want to be a destination where the U-Hauls move through Arizona on the way to Texas or other states. We want to be the final destination for those jobs.
How do we compete?
Well, this is not a plan that gets us to job growth. And in fact, the supporters of this bill couldn't even agree on how you change the tax code to bring in jobs. So they split the baby, and they did both. They did the part where you pick winners and losers and who you give tax incentives to, and they did the overall tax cuts to every business, which made it more expensive, and again, we don't have accountability for results.
So how would, in a time of economic crisis, certainly fiscal crisis here in Arizona, and everyone wants to diversify our jobs and our employment, our industry, our economy, everyone wants this. Everyone wants jobs, everyone wants it. How best do you do it?
Well, as several of the speakers at the Senate hearing from business groups said, we have to get our fiscal house in order. And we might have disagreements about how we do that, but we know that this instability is not good for business and it's not good for families. You've had guests on your show for how long, how many months in a row about our budget crisis. If we continue like this, it's very bad for business because they don't like surprises. They don't want to be wondering what's around the corner in terms of paying our bills.
Ted, the truth is, I could show you what the competing plan is. It's this. It's a blank piece. There's no competing plan. What the Speaker has put forward in 2250 is the most powerful cocktail that this state has seen for quite some time in terms of job creation. When you've lost 300,000 jobs, this isn't the time to sort of pick around the edges. It's the time to take the best ideas on the economic development side and the best ideas on the tax side and to get it done. And it's done in a very responsible way. It's done in a way that would have, under any estimate, a very, very small fiscal impact over the next 4 fiscal years.